welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really provocative argument about what it actually takes to live a peaceful life. It all kicks off with this idea that maybe our own personal sense of right and wrong, well, maybe it isn't strong enough to stand on its own. And that brings us to the core question of the whole thesis we're looking at today. I mean, think about it for a second. Your own moral compass, is that thing just naturally stable? Or does it need something bigger, something outside of yourself to keep it pointed in the right direction? Well, this explainer is going to unpack one author's pretty unique three-part answer. All right, so let's start with part one. According to this author, what are we even talking about when we say morality? So the argument here is that morality isn't some rule book you just memorize. Nope, it's an internal, kind of self-felt education of the heart. And this inner development, this feeling, is presented as the one key thing that really separates us humans from the rest of the animal kingdom. This whole moral experience, it starts with these basic feelings we all know, right? Pity, shame. But the author says the really crucial step is reverence. You know, that feeling of awe or maybe submission to something you see as being higher than yourself. That specific feeling, that's supposedly where true human morality really kicks in. Okay, so we've got these moral feelings. We're feeling pity, shame, even reverence. But the author argues there's a huge flaw in this foundation. See, getting these good qualities is one thing, but actually keeping them, that's a whole different ballgame. This quote just nails the heart of the problem. According to this view, the real challenge isn't just becoming a good person. It's staying a good person. That daily grind of actually living out your virtues is way harder and way more important. And here is the core dilemma. The thesis argues that morality, all by itself, is just, well, it's fragile. Sure, it can be learned, but it's incredibly hard to maintain without some kind of backup. It needs a bigger, stronger foundation to sit on. So if our natural morality is so unstable, what's the proposed support system? Well, the answer we're given is something the author calls true religion. Now, this is a really key distinction. The author isn't talking about religion in terms of, dogma or rituals. In this model, true religion is an inner experience. And its main job, its whole purpose, is to preserve and stabilize the moral virtues we already have inside us. This slide really lays out the author's big distinction. On one side, you've got morality all by itself. It's attainable, sure, but it's pretty fragile. Then, on the other side, you see how religion supposedly provides the structure and, divine help needed to keep that same morality safe and make it even stronger. And this analogy just clarifies the relationship perfectly. I mean, think about it. Education can exist as an idea, right? But it needs teachers to actually maintain it and preserve it for the next generation. The thesis argues it's the same thing here. Religion doesn't create morality, but it's essential for preserving it. But wait, the argument doesn't even stop there. The author claims that this whole idea of true religion, well, it needs its own foundation. And this brings us to the third and final tier of the argument, divine command. So the whole system, the whole shebang, rests on this idea of divine command theory. The core thought is that good isn't something we humans invented. It's an objective standard that flows from an external source, what the author calls God or nature. In this view, something is good because it is commanded by that ultimate source. And to really drive this point home, the thesis brings up the biblical story of Abraham being commanded to sacrifice his own son. Now, from a purely human point of view, that sounds just morally wrong, right? But the author uses this really extreme example to argue that within this framework, faith in that divine source is presented as the ultimate authority, even when it totally conflicts with our own moral feelings. So how was this divine command supposedly delivered to us? The text points to all these revered historical prophets. It argues that these figures showed up at these critical moments in history when human morality was kind of failing, and they acted as messengers to help restore our ethical foundation. Okay, so let's take a breath and put all these pieces together. Here is the author's complete three-part model for how to achieve peace. So here's how it all locks together. The argument basically flows from the top down. Our personal morality is fragile, right? So it needs this bigger system of religion to support it. And then religion itself, in this view, stands on the ultimate foundation, the universal source of goodness, which is divine command. Each part holds up the next. This final analogy really cements the whole idea. We don't create the sun's heat or light, we just benefit from it. In the exact same way, this thesis argues, goodness flows from a divine source, and its commands are ultimately there for our benefit.
So what's the bottom line? The author's final conclusion is this: achieving peace isn't just about trying to be a good person on your own. It requires respecting this entire interdependent chain, that crucial link between our personal morality, the religion that preserves it, and the divine command that is its ultimate source.
And the thesis leaves us with this final, really provocative question. It kind of asks us to look inward and really consider, in our own lives, which voice we're actually listening to. Is it just our own fluctuating conscience? Or is it, as this author suggests, a deeper, divine command that holds the real key to a peaceful life?